Your doctor hands you a prescription, you fill it, you take the pill every morning, and 6 months later, your blood pressure is still sitting at 148/92. Sound familiar? Here's what most people don't realize. The medications commonly prescribed for high blood pressure work by forcing your blood vessels to relax or slowing your heart rate artificially. They manage the symptom. But 5 specific foods work differently. They actually address the underlying biology that's driving your pressure up in the first place. A meta-analysis published in the British Journal of Nutrition examined 34 randomized controlled trials and found that certain dietary interventions produced blood pressure reductions comparable to first-line antihypertensive medications without the dizziness, fatigue, or dangerous interactions. These aren't superfoods pulled from a clickbait headline. They're foods you can find at any grocery store, backed by some of the most rigorous cardiovascular research of the last decade. I'm Dr. Anthony Miles, and this channel is dedicated to bringing you the latest evidence-based health research translated into clear, practical guidance designed specifically for adults over 60. If you're not subscribed yet, I'd encourage you to do that now so you don't miss the videos coming this week on heart health and circulation. Now let's get into these 5 foods, because the third one on this list is one almost nobody talks about, and the research behind it genuinely surprised me. Before we dive in, I want you to comment below with your current blood pressure reading if you know it. Something like 145/88, whatever your last reading was. This helps us understand what the seniors watching this channel are actually dealing with, and it creates a real community conversation. Now, let's talk about the first food, beet juice. I know, when someone says beet juice lowers blood pressure, it sounds like something your neighbor who does yoga recommends. But the science here is extraordinary. Beets are one of the richest dietary sources of inorganic nitrates. When you consume those nitrates, your body converts them into nitric oxide. And nitric oxide does something remarkable. It signals the smooth muscle lining your blood vessels to relax and widen. That's exactly what expensive medications like amlodipine try to do chemically. A landmark study published in Hypertension, the Journal of the American Heart Association, found that drinking just 250 milliliters of beet juice daily, that's about 1 cup, reduced systolic blood pressure by an average of 7.7 millimeters of mercury in hypertensive adults. To put that in context, many first-line medications achieve reductions of 9 to 10 millimeters. Beet juice is closing that gap. And here's something most doctors won't tell you. The nitrate content in beets works even more powerfully for older adults because our natural nitric oxide production declines significantly after age 50. Margaret was 68 years old when she came in already on 2 blood pressure medications and still reading 151/94 consistently. She was frustrated, exhausted from the side effects, and frankly scared. We talked about her diet, and she agreed to add 8 ounces of beet juice every morning for 12 weeks alongside her existing treatment. At her follow-up, her reading had dropped to 132/81. Her cardiologist was able to eliminate one of her 2 medications entirely. Margaret told me that was the first time in 4 years she'd gone a full day without a headache. What changed was her nitric oxide pathway finally had the raw material it needed to function. The second food is something you probably already have in your kitchen. Garlic. Not garlic powder from a shaker. Fresh garlic, or a specific form of supplemental garlic that I'll explain. The active compound is called allicin, and it's produced when raw garlic is crushed or chopped and the enzyme alliinase is released. Allicin inhibits an enzyme called ACE, angiotensin-converting enzyme, which is the same mechanism behind a widely prescribed class of blood pressure medications called ACE inhibitors. A 2020 meta-analysis published in the journal Experimental and Therapeutic Medicine analyzed 12 randomized controlled trials involving 553 patients with hypertension. The result? Garlic supplementation reduced systolic blood pressure by an average of 8.3 millimeters of mercury and diastolic pressure by 5.5 millimeters. Those are clinically significant numbers. The catch is preparation and form matter enormously. Raw garlic that's been chopped and left to sit for 10 minutes before eating delivers the most allicin. Garlic cooked at high heat loses much of this benefit. For supplementation, aged garlic extract standardized to 1.2% allicin content is what the research consistently used. Now, here's where it gets even more interesting. The third food on this list is one most cardiologists still aren't routinely recommending, despite compelling evidence. Blueberries, specifically wild or frozen blueberries, which often contain more of the key compound than fresh store-bought varieties. The compound is called anthocyanins, the pigments that give blueberries their deep blue-purple color. Researchers at King's College London published a study in 2019 in the Journals of Gerontology, tracking 138 adults with early-stage hypertension. Those who consumed 200 grams of blueberries daily, about 1.5 cups, showed a reduction of 5 millimeters of mercury in systolic pressure after just 1 month. But what made this study different from others was the mechanism they identified. The anthocyanins were improving the flexibility of the arterial walls themselves, not just temporarily dilating vessels. Stiffer arteries are a major driver of systolic hypertension in older adults specifically. This is why blueberries may be particularly powerful for people over 60 whose pressure spikes are driven by arterial stiffness rather than just volume or rate issues. Before I tell you about the fourth and fifth foods, and the fourth one has a specific daily dose that most people completely get wrong, I want to make sure you're getting something actionable from this video. If you're nodding along and thinking about your own blood pressure, comment "watching this for me" below. And if you're watching because of someone you love, a parent, a spouse, comment "watching this for them." It tells me who's in this community and helps me make better videos for you. The fourth food is dark chocolate. I want to say this clearly because it always gets misunderstood. Not all chocolate, not milk chocolate, not chocolate-covered almonds, not a brownie. We are talking about dark chocolate with at least 70% cocoa content, consumed in a specific amount. The active compounds are cocoa flavonols, epicatechin in particular, which stimulate nitric oxide production through a different pathway than beets, making them potentially complementary rather than redundant. A Cochrane review, one of the most rigorous types of medical evidence reviews, analyzed 35 trials and concluded that flavanol-rich cocoa reduced systolic blood pressure by 2 to 3 millimeters of mercury on average. That sounds modest, but here's the critical context. This was in people who were not already eating other high-nitrate foods. When combined with the other foods on this list, the effect compounds. The dose that research consistently points to is 30 grams per day. That's about one small square from a standard 100-gram bar. More than that, and the sugar and calories start working against you. The fifth food is olive oil, specifically extra virgin olive oil. The PREDIME trial, conducted across Spain and published in the New England Journal of Medicine, was one of the largest cardiovascular nutrition studies ever conducted, involving over 7,000 participants followed for nearly 5 years. Among its findings, high extra virgin olive oil consumption was associated with significant reductions in both systolic and diastolic blood pressure compared to a low-fat control diet. The mechanism involves a compound called oleocanthal, which has natural anti-inflammatory properties similar to ibuprofen. Chronic low-grade arterial inflammation is a key driver of hypertension that's rarely discussed. But perhaps even more relevant to this conversation is the polyphenol content of high-quality extra virgin olive oil, which has been shown to directly improve endothelial function. That's the health of the inner lining of your blood vessels. The critical detail here is freshness. Most olive oil sitting in a clear bottle on a grocery shelf has lost a significant portion of its polyphenol content through light exposure. You want oil in a dark bottle with a harvest date printed on it, ideally consumed within 18 months of harvest. Now here's exactly what you should do with this information. Start with beet juice first. It has the most dramatic single food effect and is easy to add to a morning routine. 8 ounces of pure beet juice, not beet blend, not beet powder in most cases, juice every morning. Give it 4 weeks before evaluating. Add 1.5 cups of frozen wild blueberries either in a smoothie or thawed and eaten directly, daily. For garlic, chop 2 cloves, let them sit 10 minutes, then add to food, salad dressing, eggs, whatever you'll actually eat. For dark chocolate, 30 grams of 70% or higher cocoa content per day, ideally not heated or melted, which destroys some flavonols. And for olive oil, 3 tablespoons per day of fresh, high-quality, extra virgin olive oil in a dark bottle with a harvest date, used in cooking on low heat or as a salad dressing. Do not fry with it at high temperatures. Frank was 74, and his doctor had already warned him that if his pressure didn't come down in 3 months, they'd be adding a third medication. He was already on lisinopril and a diuretic. Over 8 weeks, Frank incorporated all 5 of these foods consistently. His pressure moved from 158/96 to 139/84. Not perfect, but meaningful. And his doctor pushed the medication conversation back 6 months to continue monitoring. Frank's message to me: he finally felt like he was doing something, not just waiting for a pill to work. I want to be clear about something important before you run to the grocery store. Do not stop or reduce your blood pressure medications without discussing it with your doctor first. These foods work best as additions to your treatment plan, not replacements, unless your physician determines otherwise based on your readings. If you're on warfarin or other blood thinners, discuss garlic supplementation specifically with your doctor as it can affect clotting. And if you have kidney disease, beet juice's high oxalate content requires a conversation with your nephrologist. That caution is not a reason to avoid these foods. It's a reason to bring this information to your next appointment and have an informed conversation. What we covered today comes down to this: your blood vessels are not just passive pipes. They're living tissue that responds to what you eat, and 5 specific foods, beet juice, garlic, blueberries, dark chocolate, and extra virgin olive oil, have strong clinical evidence for reducing blood pressure through mechanisms that target the actual biology of hypertension, not just the symptoms. Comment below one of 3 things. Comment starting beets, if that's the one you're most curious to try. Comment already eating one of these, and tell me which one, or comment your blood pressure reading so we can see what this community is working with together. If you're not subscribed yet, subscribe now. Next week, I'm covering the 5 supplements that are quietly interfering with your blood pressure medication, and that video could be genuinely important for anyone already on treatment. I'm Dr. Anthony Miles. Take care of that heart. It's been working hard for you.